Study Smart series brought to you by the Academy features Will Robbins, a past pupil and study expert, here to show you his 7 steps towards achieving what he did in his Leaving Cert, and myself, David Lewis, maths teacher, biology teacher and study skills coach here at the Dublin Academy. Okay, Will, so first post, the 5 things you wish you told yourself when you were going into 6th year. Firstly, why did you pick this one first?
Well, when I was talking to Chris about writing this kind of blog series, I thought it'd be very easy to focus on, what would be the absolute ultimate best study routine that someone could adopt. But then I was kind of thinking, there's a line from Warren Buffett's kind of right-hand man, Charlie Munger. He says, it's easier to avoid stupidity than to seek out brilliance. So that was kind of the theme of that post. It's that if you can spot the common pitfalls that a lot of people fall into, then you can actually do really well by just avoiding those rather than trying to be absolutely perfect every day. So yeah, that was one of the main kind of pitfalls I did see, was that a lot of students get stressed during the year. Probably it was exacerbated last year by the whole coronavirus thing, and certainly there are reasons to be stressed, but then there are also reasons that shouldn't be taking up your mental bandwidth in that way. So I wanted to kind of allay some of those fears and doubts that people tend to have going into the year, and hopefully the post did that in addressing kind of 5 of the main things I came across, both in my own experience and in talking to prospective 6th year students.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I actually thought it was a brilliant post to start with because, as you said, a lot of the problems come from mistakes versus things that you do, or incorrect things that you do, versus things that you don't do. And people think that they're missing out and stuff, but I thought it was a really nice, mature and easy way for a student to bed themselves into what we were trying to achieve with this series.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Could you talk us through the 5 things that you as a student would have wished you told yourself and that these students for this year can actually adopt?
Yeah, number 1, I would have told myself, there's life beyond the Leaving Cert. But when you're going through it kind of feels like it's the only thing that matters, the Leaving Cert. But actually, the very worst case scenario is that you, say, fail your exams, don't get the course you want, and the worst thing that can happen from that is that you either repeat or find another way to do what you love. There's infinite examples of people who didn't do so on the Leaving Cert that actually went on to do what they wanted to do in the world. And if the very worst case scenario is just a year out of your life, in the vast ocean that is your life, that's just going to be a little drop of water, that 1 year out. So I kind of wanted to reiterate that there's not that much to fear. The worst case scenario isn't that bad. And there is an exercise I kind of recommend for that, which is Tim Ferriss's fear setting exercise. And that's just imagine the worst case scenario before you kind of do anything, and ask yourself, would I be okay with that? And if it did happen, how could I get back to where I am now and get back on a good trajectory? And in reality, it's not going to be, it's going to be a lot easier than you think to kind of recover. So kind of removing that fear of failure, I think, is important if you're going to give your all to the year ahead. Yeah,
I really like that. I really like that idea there, that at the moment, because it's right in their face, that's all the student can think about. But there are so many other options, and being honest as well, even if they do very well, it's highly likely, like I saw you say a number of times in certain posts, but also to me, that they're going to have different careers and realise different passions as they grow older and as they mature. So that's important. Okay, number 2. What was number 2?
Number 2 was that a lot of people spend time focusing on all the many unknowns that are around the Leaving Cert. And that might be, what if I get a harsh marker? What if the right questions don't come up for me? Anything, just all those unknowns surrounding the exam. And if I'm sure you've read kind of some of the Stoicism, Stoic philosophy text, but that's one of the main things they talk about. It's that you can't, thinking about things outside of your control does nothing to prevent them or overcome them. It's going to make you more anxious. So in that way, I was very much putting forth the point that focus on what you can control. You can't control what's going to happen on the day, but you can control your inputs and having your kind of study routine nailed down, getting good quality work done each day. And then if you do all those things, in the words of the Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, the score will take care of itself. And if you walk into your exams knowing that you've done your very best in the lead up, then everything after that is a bonus. And I think that's the healthiest way to kind of approach it.
Yeah, I'd also, from that as well, with the controllables and what you've said there, I would think with students that actually, being honest, I know they're going to disagree with me on this, but 99% of it is the work that you do up before you actually go into the exam itself, and that's all the learning that will stick with you for the rest of your life, and the tools and the lessons and stuff. So control, you can control, as you said there, and the rest, the score will take care of itself. It's a good one.
And just on that, there's Mark Twain, I believe, said, I'm an old man, I've known a great many worries, most of which have never happened. So, and Seneca as well said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And so, like, most of these things that people are worrying about won't actually happen, and they're just kind of taking up mental bandwidth during the year for no good reason. So that's what I'd say on that.
Perfect. Number 3?
Number 3 was an interesting one. So it comes from something called the spotlight effect, and I certainly felt this during the year, that I had to do well in Leaving Cert to kind of prove that I was smart to other people, people in the year, and so that they might respect me, and if I did badly, then people were going to judge me and stuff. And I think it is quite common. Even if you're a good student, you kind of think, oh, what if I don't do quite as well as I thought? What will people think? And as humans, we do tend to kind of have a great capacity for self-evaluation. Probably the main way we do that is in relation to something else, and as we're surrounded by humans, that becomes someone else. So what I said in the essay is that unless you're the very best student in the country, that's a recipe for unhappiness. And there's only one best student in the country. So the chances are it's probably not you. No offense. But there's only one game that you can really win, and that's, as cliche as it sounds, that's being yourself. And when you kind of pivot to that mindset, it just kind of becomes about how you can improve yourself, what you can learn every day, and your own standards, and how you feel about what you do.
I think that's really, really true. A lot of the stuff with that, once you put like certain metaphors into bigger real world terms, that's not there. Students can kind of go, actually, wait a second, I'm being a bit silly here. Like, if you're worrying about, as you said in the previous rule, certain questions coming up, well, are you worried about a solar flare potentially burning the whole earth? You don't walk around all day doing that, or worrying about like those sort of uncontrollables. Why would you worry about those questions? You can't do anything about that. But at least in this school context, you can prepare yourself for the questions. Or then for the comparing yourself to who you were yesterday versus somebody else. You said there's this one student per year, and they might even like compare themselves to students from other years and stuff outside of school.
And the vectors of kind of comparison are totally arbitrary. So usually we would like compare ourselves to other people in something they're really good at and we're bad at. Maybe in the Leaving Cert context, academics, but there's obviously something that they're bad at, and they might envy your your ability to speak to others, your prowess on the sports field. So you kind of do this mental contrasting where you're contrasting something they're really good at to something you're bad at, and that's just a recipe for unhappiness. So
would you want to say, for someone who was guaranteed a H1 in maths because they're putting in X amount of hours per week, would you want to give up everything you have in your life to have everything they have in their life? And that's the only way I suppose you could talk about it. You don't want to just randomly have it. Or on another context, like I suppose a rugby player doesn't wake up in the morning and kind of go, oh, I wish I was Mo Farah, I wish I could run. It's just silly, and that's what people tend to do or even like if you're doing a local sport, kind of go, oh, why am I not Usain Bolt? And that's what people tend to do.
And it's a good point you make that Jordan Peterson actually talks about a bit. It's that as children we're kind of limitless potential, so we can be anything, but to actually become someone or something of merit, you have to choose something. So you have to be something, and you have to you can do anything, you can't do everything. So the act of kind of becoming a better version of yourself, by definition you're going to kind of go down a narrower path than kind of have all these options open to you. So you're not going to be the best at everything. You're going to be good in a particular domain, and that's why it's kind of futile to compare yourself to others on a different kind of domain.
Yeah, perfect. So last one,
it was kind of a nice way to finish up. I kind of titled it "The Days Are Long but the Year is Short."
Yeah, I love this one.
And so what I mean by that is, sometimes the Leaving Cert year can feel interminable, that it's just never going to end, and those kind of long, dark when you're going to school, dark when you're coming home,
dark in your soul.
Yeah, those November evenings. So while the grinds and the classes and the study sessions, they can pass quite slowly at times depending on the subject, I suppose. The year actually goes by in a flash. So I'd encourage students to kind of appreciate the journey. Enjoy the little moments. The crazy teachers you have, or the funny times that kind of happen in class, and because you'll miss it when it's gone.
Yeah. No, I thought that was a really nice one. Because there is times, and I suppose you could relate it back to sports or even a movie, or maybe you're going out with your parents or a holiday or something like that. This moment seems to think that it's lasting a long time, and obviously that can change certain things, but then when you're finished the run, you're like, actually that wasn't that bad. That was fine. And in terms of the Leaving Cert year, having gone through it so recently, but then also myself even a long time ago, but then also seeing students every single year, I do see people put under these different circumstances, strange things, but you see them having such an enjoyable time, and they can have such an enjoyable time, and it's important that they do. Brilliant, that's fantastic. Well, I really enjoy that mature first way of looking out on the year versus straight away getting into the nitty gritty of books and how to get stuff into our heads and stuff like that. Let's actually set out our stalls, set out our principles first of all, about how we're going to act and how also we are not going to act.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.